Hey there, Scribe, Sarah here, and welcome to another book club episode of the Right Podcast. I'm so glad you're here and spending this time with me. Because you are here, that tells me that you love books. Whether you are a writer as well or just love reading, I know you will love today's episode because I am talking to a huge fan of fantasy about the new novel, The Forbidden Alchemy, by Australian author Stacey McEwan. So let me introduce to you my co-host today, fellow bookworm and my partner in life and love, Tim Coulson. How are you, Tim?
Hey Sarah, thanks for having me on the show. Very excited for today.
Not a worry at all. So, Tim and I have been together for about 4 years now. And when we first met, you didn't actually read much at all. Then you told me that you actually had an idea for a novel, and tell the rest of the story.
Yeah. So I'd been a really avid reader as a kid, but then life got in the way, and the internet happened, and I read everything in 30 seconds or a minute. So I never really got into the stories as much as I used to. But I'd always had this character in my head that had been driving to write this story, and I know so much about him and what he's going to do and where he's going to be and all of these exciting things. But I'd never sat down and actually had someone say to me, "Hey, you need to write this." So yeah.
So then you did start reading again. And what was the book that actually turned you into wanting to be a reader again?
Uh, Honestly, I think it was when the Fourth Wing series came out. Um, that was a huge book. Read that and consumed it so fast, and I went, "Wow, I really did enjoy this." It was able to escape into that world, and that was the start of really going back into reading again. And since then, I've read multiple different series. Stacey McEwan's Galatian series with Ledge and everything. That was really, really good. Went straight into that one. And Light Lark series, just really consumed those world building series. And it's the escapism of fantasy. It's dragons, it's magic, it's cool.
Yeah. Of course, I love dragons. Everyone knows I'm all there for a dragon. Unfortunately, this book didn't have any dragons in it. But
It
here's
didn't.
here's the novel. This is The Forbidden Alchemy by Stacey McEwan. And I first off just want to say this cover, OMG. It is so gorgeous, and I hope that's coming up on the video. If you haven't gotten yourself a copy, so this is actually just a paperback and it's sprayed and it's so pretty. Now, we actually met Stacey McEwan at an event last year when we were in Sydney, and I saw her, I met her, I've got my photo taken with her. I grabbed those books because I thought, now this was what did it start with? Ledge, I think was the first one in that series.
Yep, Ledge. Yep,
Yeah.
then Chasm.
So I think there are three in that series, and she had all three of them there. So I bought all three. She signed them for you and everything. And
Hmm.
this was last year. Now she is this huge book talk sensation. So I'm a little humbled that we knew her back when. And I got those for you. And I remember you went home and straight away started reading them. So that was so fun.
Very carefully, can't break the spines on such a pretty cover.
No. And on this one, every time I kind of tried to open it, it would make this little like breaking sound, which broke my heart. So I might have to get extra copies of it. Okay, so here is the spoiler alert, people. If you haven't read The Forbidden Alchemy, we are going to be discussing it in full. So you may want to push pause, read the book, and come back. Okay, so let's dive in. The story begins in a coal-stained mining town of Scurry, where Nina Harrow is born into a world of hardship and hopelessness. Like most craftsmen, she dreams of a way out, of something more. The chance comes with the annual siphoning ceremony, where children are tested for magical ability. But when Nina and her new friend Patrick Coulson are selected to take the test in Belvedere City, they actually uncover this truth that the system is rigged, and artisans, or those born with magic, they aren't actually chosen by fate, but by manipulation.
I can't say I saw it coming. No, like I knew that there was something obviously building. And to me, because of the way it was written with Patrick's POV as well, it was pretty obvious that this was going to be the two main protagonists throughout the story.
Yeah.
So, in that sense, it was like, okay, I know something's going to happen here, but what is it? So, the way that it was handled, the way that it was written was really, really good because, I mean, I can totally see a pair of 12-year-olds sneaking off and not standing around the courtyard, going exploring and finding this, store of idiom and this store of fake idiom, blowing the lid on all of that. That's something that I thought, yeah, that's exactly how that would play out.
Yeah, yeah. And so they steal some vials of the actual idiom and some of not the idiom. They take one each with them, and then they're separated. And we only see her point of view at this point, where she goes in. Now, she obviously takes the idiom because she is desperate to be an artisan. She gets revealed as this earth charmer, so she can actually manipulate yeah, earth, dirt. So I thought that was really interesting. Of course, they're all very surprised because she wasn't supposed to have that one. She was supposed to have the uh the non-idiom. So
Yeah, yeah. So I liked that. It was built up nicely in terms of how Earth hadn't been an element that had been around for a lot of years, and then it did seem a little cliche that, okay, of course she's going to get one of the most important powers. But I like the fact that as we go through the book, yeah, it's not necessarily the power of the element; it's how well you can use it. Um, at this stage of the book, it was really giving me big Hunger Games vibes.
mhm, it
Like,
was definitely the decision to cheat the system that Nina makes. Do you think? I mean, it was kind of selfish, but also desperate. Would you have done the same in her position, though?
Nina was the harder character for me to really identify with. Like, I definitely straight away, I'm like Patrick. Yep, that's my man. So I guess if I was in Nina's position, having grown up worshipping the artisan class and always striving for something more, it's really a no-brainer for her. She has to roll the dice and take this step, especially with everything that's happened with mum, dad. The situation that she's in at home. She doesn't want to return to that. So it's safer for her in a way to take this bold step and go, I'm really going to lean into my love for the artisans.
Yeah, yeah. So after that, she stays in the city, in Belvedere City, and she trains and she meets Theo, who is also an artisan that was um, created, I guess you'd say, chosen at the siphoning. So those two work quite closely together and they fall in love and have this dynamic relationship, which I thought was really cute. I was really rooting for Theo. You he was that boy that everyone loves, and she was this girl with no friends. And I really enjoyed that relationship. And I was at the back of my mind, I'm like, but why would Patrick be in the story if they were going to be up together? So me, I love myself a love triangle. How did you at that point in the story with Theo? What were you feeling towards him?
Uh, I never liked Theo. He just didn't vibe for me. I think because he was such a upperclassman. So, the story was always built around coming from nothing, and Nina and Patrick shared that coming from nothing. So Theo was always just the distraction for me until they got to Patrick and Nina.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So then we have the they're older at this point. The school is blowing up, and Nina
Mm.
makes the decision to pretend to have died. Um, and then spends, I think it's 7 years on the run, basically.
Yeah, it's 7 years, and I that was one of the things I thought Stacey did really, really well. I loved the fact that we had this big time jump, but it was so well handled. Like she picked up a newspaper, and it's like this conflict's been going on for 5 years, and then Nina looks at the date, and it's like this is 2 years old. So it was just really well handled. Within the space of a paragraph, the reader was transported 7 years into the future.
Mm.
It did at the time when I read that. I was like, oh man, so the school's done with. Like, I would have liked to have explored her schooling a lot more,
Mm.
like to really build on how she learned her element, how she gained the skills to really be able to manipulate it.
Mm.
Because a lot of what we've learned is that there's a few different artisans around, but not many of them can reach the level of charmer. So how did Nina develop such a skill that she was going to be this massive weapon, that she had such an ability to influence her magic?
Mm. Yeah, and I think you're right. There definitely other authors would have done it more, like Harry Potter, where it's this huge world building experiment, really. And I think there is so much more that we could have learned and uncovered in the school that we kind of didn't, which was, it's fine because I love the book the way it is. And maybe it was a page restraint, something like that. But I do kind of feel like we could have learned more about the school and built some more relationships and those sorts of things. But we
Definitely. I think that what we can do, though, is that there's always the option to jump back and do a Zodiac Academy type thing and then just do a standalone for when she was at the school.
absolutely actually that now that you've said that, that totally is in my mind. Like, yeah, that's probably why she did it that way. She probably is in future books going to, come back and have a scene in the school or something like that. So yeah, I'm sure once we get to the finished, I don't know how many books are going to be in the series. There's definitely going to be another one though. We will be able to go back. That's why that happened, because we've done that with Fourth Wing as well and all those other books. It's like it doesn't really make sense until it does. So yeah, that's interesting. Um, she is caught by the miners' union and she gets taken back to Kenton Hill, and that's where she sees Patrick again. And I mean, you're a big fan of Patrick, we know. So you suddenly meet him and he's like this completely different person. I was like, that's not him.
Yeah, I think it was always this cheeky guy there that, I think even as it was sort of set up in the first, couple of chapters, he was always just this knockabout larrikin, salt of the earth, hardworking guy, family values. It was all prefaced for him to really step into this role and be the leader. And I think the thing that really set me for Patrick too is that he wasn't the oldest in the family. Like, I'm the oldest in the family, and it always feels like every series is set up with, oh, you got the heir and the spare. And for Patrick to come into the power of leadership, even though he had an older brother, I think that was really well handled.
Yeah, yeah. So we see their relationship, and she does actually spend a lot of time in that book with Nina in Kenton Hill, experiencing the good and the bad that Patrick has created. There's more of everyone shares the food, that sort of thing. But then if you do something wrong, you really get punished for it. So I thought it
Mm.
was a really interesting way that she showed us those sorts of things. And it's like, so we don't really just love him because he's not, this beautiful, everyone gets everything that they want and I'm taking care of it. It was, no, you don't pull your weight. There's repercussions. Um,
Yeah, it's probably the most effective communist society, isn't it?
that's good. So, I mean, and that really made me have that kind of relationship with Patrick. It's like, oh, okay, he does some good things, but then he does some bad things, and he definitely sent one guy to be killed. So yeah, he isn't all
Mm.
sunshine and roses. There's definitely that element of, if you're going to be a leader, you've got to make some tough choices too.
Yeah, definitely. And I know that Stacey's based the book, or like she was inspired by the Peaky Blinders. So I think there's definitely overtures of Tommy in there. Like Patrick is a little bit morally grey. Like, don't get me wrong, he's not a Zayden or a Darius, but it's that element of I've got to do what I've got to do.
Yeah, yeah. And the relationship that does simmer once they're both in Kenton Hill, it yeah, it's like they really don't like each other, and then they do like each other.
Yeah, there was that element of, oh, should I, shouldn't I, should I, shouldn't I? It was a little bit like going backwards and forwards there. And it's like, guys, just come on. Let's just do this, okay?
And then, of course, Theo is in the town as well. So she sees him,
Mm,
of course, after 7 years. So that's a bit of a shock to the system. And I think the love triangle that kind of emerges from that point. I mean, it's not even really a love triangle. I don't think she really gives Theo much of a chance. He's already burned his bridge. And I think at
yeah,
that,
100%. Like,
yeah, and she's already got this years long connection with Patrick. Um, I think at that point Theo becomes the bad guy really because he says some things and he does some not nice things and um, the the difference between Theo and Patrick is quite obvious in some of those scenes.
yeah, and I think that's the character arc of Patrick and Theo that really contrasts in that regard too. Like Theo almost takes a negative character arc. He's a bit of a dick. He's a bit entitled at the start, and then the way that he leaves Nina and he's like, "Well, I've got what I wanted while we were at school. Off you go now." And then he that sense of entitlement just overrides everything. And it's sort of, I think it really helps set up the distinction between the classes.
Yeah.
The artisans are all very much, it's about me, whereas the craftsmen are more like, it's about us. So he
Mm.
does have and character arc, and he kind of redeems himself at the end. But I was like, dude, come on, that's the bare minimum you could have done.
Yes. And of course, Theo and Nina, and there's another character as well, they have all actually been placed in Kenton Hill by the powers, the big people in charge, to actually find the alchemist. So they know the alchemist has been taken by the miners' union, and they're all there trying to find the
Mm,
alchemist to save. They all have something to lose. For Nina, it's actually her mother, be basically being blackmailed to be there. Um, and they're trying to find, yeah, the alchemist. And then I'm kind of going, this alchemist, they really can't find him. Like, yeah, they've been there for a while and they haven't seen him or heard him or anything. Like, what were you thinking
mm.
at that point? Like, what's the deal with this guy?
Yeah, the longer the story got on, like originally, okay, I was like, all right, yeah, but Patrick's got the alchemist. He's taken him. He's hidden him. And then it's like, okay, no, the alchemist definitely isn't in Kenting Hill. Okay, well, the alchemist must be in one of the port towns. And then it's like, nope, okay, the alchemist can't be in one of the port towns. Oh, maybe we're going to do this thing where we jump off. And Patrick's got the alchemist and, taken into a secret island and things like that. As the book went on and on and on, and it was built up about, oh, we've only got one alchemist, the last alchemist, the alchemist is the key to everything. I was starting to think, hang on a minute, Patrick doesn't have this guy. Like, he hasn't actually found him. He's just bluffed his way through this.
Mm, I was thinking that too, that he was, yeah, just bluffing. And then he got very honest and he's like, no, the alchemist that you're looking for is dead. And then they're like, but
Mm.
there is an alchemist because it is still, you know, being created. It was a little bit before that where I was like, I bet it's him. I bet it's Patrick. And then it was, and it still was a little like, oh my God, to me. So he had actually taken some idiom and not even become an artisan, but he'd become an alchemist, which could turn this material into idiom, which, was
Mm.
all the power. How was that like? Yeah, for you, how did you react when you learned that?
So that was a big reveal for me. It like I'm pretty good at finding out and getting little nuggets, and then when things come, it's like, yeah, okay, I knew that was like Brennan. I knew that that reveal was coming, but that one I didn't, because I think Stacey had handled it really, really well with the bullets in the tunnel when they were shooting at Patrick,
Mm.
um, and he was able to manipulate them. And straight away, then I'm like, all right, he's got a metal power. Like he is 100%, he's turned himself into an artisan. But then to learn that he actually could siphon and he was the key to it, I did not actually see that coming. So that was good.
Yeah, yeah. And then he had given some idiom to both of his brothers as well. So they actually had it,
Mm.
which definitely explained why the blind brother was such a good shot. This episode is proudly sponsored by the Sunshine Coast Fiction Festival, one of the most exciting new events on the Australian literary calendar, and I'm thrilled to say I'm hosting it. Join myself and over 80 other authors and vendors for a 3-day festival of creative inspiration, community, and conversations at Venue 114 in Book Arena, just minutes from the beach and surrounded by the vibrant writing culture of the Sunshine Coast in Queensland. Whether you're a brand new writer dreaming up your first novel or an established author wanting to connect and learn and celebrate this wild creative life, we've got something for you. And bring all your bookish and reader friends too. The weekend is devoted to bookish fun and your chance to meet and chat with authors of all fiction genres, including romance, science fiction, fantasy, crime, and children's. There'll be workshops, panel discussions, author Q&As, and plenty of time to mingle and network and get inspired. You'll hear from some of the biggest names in fiction, including Stephanie Holmes, who's a USA Today best-selling author of dark, delicious fantasy. A.K. Mulford, a Sunshine Coast local who writes fantasy novels, rom-coms, and she's a BookTok star with a heart for magical stories. Rachel Johns is one of Australia's favourite authors of women's fiction and rural romance. Cadence Snow, she's a beloved in the indie romance scene for her gripping and emotional stories. And T.L. Swan, queen of spicy international bestsellers with legions of devoted fans. And Candice Fox, award-winning crime writer and screenwriter whose thrillers you cannot put down. And of course, I'll be there too, not just as your host, but with my own table at the signing, ready to chat, sign books, and cheer you on wherever you are in your writing journey. This is your chance to meet some of your favourite authors, connect with other passionate readers and writers, and soak up an atmosphere of creative energy that will stay with you long after the day ends. Tickets are already selling fast, and this is a 3-day event. So if you're thinking about coming, don't wait. The Sunshine Coast Fiction Festival is proudly sponsored by Serenade Publishing, the Queensland Writers Centre, the Sunshine Coast Libraries, and Baventi. Head to sunshinecoastfictionfestival.com.au to check out the full program and book your ticket now. I can't wait to see you there. Yeah, I thought
Yeah,
that
that
was
was good, and that was really, really well foreshadowed with the darts and everything, and you know how he had handled himself. It made sense why there was so much metal around the town and how he could navigate so easily as well. So I thought that foreshadowing was really well put into the book.
yeah, definitely, definitely. So who was your favorite character out of everyone? Was it Patrick?
Patrick, like you got to root for Patrick. Come on.
I actually really liked Tess Coulson. Um, so Patrick's mum, I really liked her. She was this woman who was kind of stuck in the situation she didn't really want to be in. And her husband had, made her live this life that she didn't really want to be living. And then she had these 3 kids kind of, continuing that tradition and getting deep into this rebellion. She was, as a matriarch, I think she was really good and strong and stoic.
Yeah, absolutely. So as that matriarch, she absolutely nailed it. Like all those boys were pretty powerful blokes, pretty strong personalities, and Donnie was just like, "Yes, mum, will do, mum." Like she was giving me big Gemma, Sons of Anarchy vibes.
Yeah, yeah. So at the end of the story, it definitely left us on this cliffhanger. Um, Patrick found out that she was betraying him, so there was like no love lost in that part. The Kenton Hill is basically all destroyed, and Nina and Patrick are both taken off to the city.
Mm.
It was dark, like it ended dark. Where do you think it's going? Do you have any theories on what will happen?
Yeah, so they're in a tunnel. They're in a tunnel, and Nina's still conscious. Like she gonna break them out, man. Book two is gonna be a breakout. There's no way they're going back to the city yet. They're going to go back to Belvedere when they're ready.
Interesting. See, I think they'll go to Belvedere, and I think they will manipulate the city somehow because they're good manipulators, these two. I see they're going to burn it down from the inside.
Yeah, yeah, it's going to implode on itself.
It will.
100%. I agree with that.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So here it is again, a Forbidden Alchemy. I would love to know if anyone out there has any theories on what is going to happen next. Please share that with me on social media. um, you'll definitely be sticking around for book two.
Absolutely. I've got to see how Patrick gets out of this situation.
So thank you so much for joining me today, Tim, and thank you to the lovely audience out there for joining us to dissect a Forbidden Alchemy. And of course, I will be back next month with another interesting read. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag on this one, but I have an interesting book with a very interesting person who's going to be joining, and we will be talking about that one in October. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I will talk to you next week. Bye for now.